I was friends with Mary's family before she even met Kody. She wanted me to come meet her new boyfriend. So I was there and he walked in the room and it was like, I remembered. It was like when you see somebody that you haven't seen for a long time, there was all that emotion of like, oh, there you are, you know, that feeling. And I had that feeling the minute I saw him walk in the room.
Hey friends, it's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome back to my channel. I hope all of you are having a wonderful day. A brand new teaser for this upcoming episode is all about Janelle and Christine saying that they do not regret marrying Kody. But it wasn't that caught my eye or even my ears. It was what Janelle said at the very beginning of the clip, which you just heard, where she said that she met Kody because she was quote unquote friends with Mary's family before Mary ever met Kody. And she met Kody when Mary wanted to introduce her to him. She and Kody were courting, and Janelle admits that when Kody and Mary were courting, she was smitten, struck, gobsmacked, love at first sight of that feeling you get when you see someone that you're really attracted to. And Janelle fails to reveal a very critical component of this, in that Mary and Kody were married in April of 1990. Janelle was still married to Mary's brother the first time she met Kody. It's messy. Let's dive into the topic. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet subscribed, and click on the bell so you never miss a video. It's very rare that the show actually is honest. And the way that Janelle describes this is dishonest. And so I just rarely come for Janelle, rarely call the ladies out, but she's leaving out a very key component here. Mary met Kody in 1989. They were married in 1990. And Janelle was married to Mary's brother, Adam. At the time, Janelle was named Janelle Barber. According to court records in Utah, Janelle did not file for divorce from Adam until February 26th of 1990. Her divorce was not finalized until June 8th of 1990. She was married to Adam Barber, who happened to be Mary's brother. And the reason why Mary was introducing her boyfriend was because she was introducing her boyfriend to her brother and his wife. Such a tangled web. So I'm starting to better understand why Mary might not have liked Janelle right off the bat. Well, let's see. She dumped her brother right after she met Kody, in the middle of Mary getting married to him. And Janelle pursued Kody after dumping Mary's brother, and then was puzzled that Mary might have a problem with them joining the family. So let's continue with what Janelle has to say.
You know, he would always kind of joke, well, why don't you come be in our family?
Oh, there's no doubt that I probably flirted with Janelle a little bit. I just remember talking to her a lot. Was that flirting? Well, if we were both smiling at each other, it must have been.
As I started to do a lot of my own study and I was embracing the faith, I asked him, I said, look, I think I'm supposed to be in your family.
So let's just set the stage here. She is newly divorced, and according to their book, Becoming Sister Wives, Kody and Mary actually moved in to a home with Janelle. And it was Janelle's house, and apparently they lived in the basement and were like tenants of Janelle. So she and Kody's relationship starts off with Janelle divorcing her brother and then becoming smitten with her husband. So her sister-in-law, Mary's sister-in-law, divorces her brother, becomes smitten with her husband, and then they move in with Janelle, and then Janelle and Kody are flirting in front of Meri, and then when this all comes together and Janelle asks Kody to be a part of the family, which isn't typical. Typically, a request would be made. So Janelle would go to according to the rules of the Apostolic United Brethren, she would need to approach the brethren at the AUB. And then the AUB would let Kody know, or should let Kody know, according to the way that they do this in their courtship rules, they would need to let Kody know that there's a woman that's interested in potentially joining his family. Kody was supposed to consult with his first legal wife, and under the rules that they follow under the Doctrine and Covenants, which is the law of Sarah, Meri is supposed to sign off on or give approval for the marriage. And it kind of sounds like Janelle and Kody went behind Mary's back. Janelle approaches Kody behind Mary's back and asks to be a part of his family behind Mary's back. And then she wonders why things might not have been cordial when she first moved in. Janelle was not from this world, did not understand the rules, did not understand the guidelines, and Kody wasn't from this world either. He didn't grow up in the Apostolic United Brethren. Meri did. So you have two outsiders not following the rules, and then you've got Meri, who grew up in the cult, kind of stuck in the middle of all of this, and then you've got Janelle claiming that their relationship went from really cordial to frosty overnight. And I'm like, that's what she says in the book. And I'm like, well, now I know why, because you literally went behind her back. Even if they were supposed to be plural families, and even if they were going to practice polygamy, you would still try to take the right steps so that you don't offend the wife. But I guess that didn't matter because she was gobsmacked. That's fine. I just needed to point out these details.
And he said, okay, let's pray about it. There was no doubt in my mind that's who I was supposed to be married to.
This is why polygamy is dysfunctional, because women are competing for a man. Meri was a first wife for a very short period, and Kody was on the prowl the minute they got married looking for more. And she probably just introduced Kody to her family with the expectation that they would just meet her boyfriend. I don't think she anticipated that decision would potentially alter her entire fabric of her life, with Janelle filing for divorce from her brother within months and then effectively pursuing Kody while they're still newly married. There would be a level of insecurity that even if Meri agreed that this was the lifestyle that she was going to live, would make her feel like she could not trust Janelle. So if you're trying to start a relationship with someone that's a sister wife, the trust would already be broken because Meri probably felt betrayed because they went behind her back and didn't follow the rules. This was something that was actually brought up in a tell-all about how they asked Meri, like, were you offended by this or did this upset you? And she played the game and said no. And in the middle of that, Kody actually courted someone else that Meri really liked, and that fell apart. So the woman that Kody and Meri agreed upon together, that relationship soured, and then Kody moved on very quickly without telling Meri with Janelle. And then they all, at this point, I think Kody and Meri had gotten their own place, and Janelle moves into their house with them, and the relationship sours. It's not a surprise. And it's just, I feel bad for Meri, period. I feel bad for Meri in that scenario. And the fact that Janelle's like, I knew I needed to marry him when she was already married to someone else just doesn't sit well with me. And I just want to lay out the backstory of it so that you better understand that. So that's her explanation. Now you might better understand where Meri's coming from.
Oh yeah, I definitely knew I should marry Kody. It was a strong spiritual witness. And yeah, it was no regrets. And then when it was time to leave, it was also time to leave. And I just knew without a doubt also that it was time to go.
Christine says that she received a spiritual calling, a spiritual guide, that Kody was supposed to be the one that she married, a spiritual witness. If God is not wrong, and if God is providing this witness that this is the person that you were supposed to marry, and that if God doesn't then believe in divorce or doesn't like divorce, is God wrong then in sending a message to someone that they are supposed to marry this person? And if they believe in the Christian God, which they say that they do, and they claim that they follow Jesus, the New Testament is very against marriage between a man and more than one wife. And this is a component of the Mormon fundamentalists that I don't know how they are able to gymnastic their way around, other than to say that, like, Joseph Smith must be the next coming of Christ, or the next witness of Christ, or the next Christ. Because if you're a Christian and you say that you believe in Jesus, one would think that you would be witness to a God that would want you to marry only one man and one wife. That's what the Bible says. And so she says, I had a witness I was supposed to marry Kody. I have no regrets, but equally I had just as much compelling push that the marriage needed to end. I don't know a Christian God that wants marriages to end. Now, there is divorce in the Bible that is allowed, but this specific type of marriage wouldn't be recognized by the New Testament. The confusing part for these believers is the marrying of the New Testament with the Book of Mormon, and then on top of that, the revelations from Joseph Smith. And I can't personally wrap my mind around that because I did not grow up in the Mormon faith. I grew up in the Catholic faith, so Jesus was who I believed in. And I would just hope that as they begin to unravel these belief systems, they understand, hopefully, that it wasn't God that was telling them that they needed to do this, but rather a system that was making them feel like their only way into heaven was through a man that had more than one wife. Because I feel like if they didn't have a system, an indoctrinated system telling them that your exaltation is dependent on a man, they wouldn't have married a man or spiritually married a man that already had a legal wife. Because there's no God I can think of, even ones in the Bible, that would ever want anyone to enter into a relationship filled with sadness and abuse. Because even in the Bible, they're against abuse and they're against infidelity, and polygamy would be considered infidelity. It's, again, mental gymnastics. So Christine has no regrets, and Christine has a testimony for the marriage and a testimony for leaving the marriage, but no regrets.
I know that I didn't make a mistake in marrying him. I would do it all over again. And I didn't think these kinds of things had an expiration date, but it appears that our relationship might have had an expiration date.
Janelle doesn't have regrets. And I think you can't ask about what you've gone through. You can't go back into life and ask, like, would you, could you, woulda, coulda, shoulda, because it doesn't matter. It happened. And if any of them were to say that they regretted this decision, they would then have to say they would regret their kids. You can't ask, it's an unfair question, in my opinion, to ever ask someone, do you regret this relationship, especially when children are involved? It's insensitive to the kids. Hopefully they all have learned, right? She said, I didn't know that relationships had a expiration date. Apparently this one did. And since both of them felt a calling and a spiritual calling, I wanted to go to the Bible to see what the Bible says about polygamy. In the Bible, when they talk about marriage, specifically in the New Testament, it almost always is related to the marriage between one man and one woman. 1 Corinthians chapter 7 specifically says, but since there is so much immorality, each man should have his own wife and each woman her own husband, specifically a one-to-one relationship, and that the husband should fulfill his marital duty to his wife, and likewise the wife to her husband. So in the way that they're viewing this, it's one man, one woman, the husband belongs to the wife belongs to the husband, and they make one flesh. And you cannot make more than one flesh if you have united in the beliefs under Jesus, under the Bible, under the Christian God. And I'm sure polygamists will pull out passages that they can try to gymnastics themselves around, but predominantly there's nothing in Christianity that endorses or supports the practice of polygamy in the New Testament. And it's really sad that, this system's designed by a guy named Joseph Smith, who, until he gets caught, keeps his polygamy completely hidden from everyone else, sends men off into missions for him, and then while they're gone, takes their wives as his own. So he steals other men's wives. He uses really manipulation and control and fear to make families and fathers give their daughters to him, specifically girls that are as young as 13 and 14. So to me, that's not a God situation. And then after he's caught by his wife Emma with one of these girls, it is then he suddenly has a revelation that, in order to receive exaltation, a man must take concubines, and that the wife, Sarah, is to approve all of the concubines. And then he's supposed to go off and make babies to bring down from the spiritual, their spirit babies down to repopulate the world. But he didn't even follow his own revelation. He didn't let Emma know ahead of time that he was bringing in new wives. He did it behind her back. He did it behind her back. He did it behind his friend's back. Unless you grow up in this faith or you're brainwashed, the belief system doesn't really make sense. And the Christian God that they claimed that they follow, Jesus, didn't support this way of living. It's just, I hope, as Janelle deconstructs, as Mary deconstructs, as Christine deconstructs, they can understand and realize that they were given bad information. They were coerced into a marriage, which even Kody admits, in order to convince a woman to do this, you'd have to browbeat her for a woman to want to marry another woman's husband. You'd have to browbeat her to believe that this is a good idea. Those were his words. The man gets to have more women, and she gets the promise of eternity. So they were lied to about this promise of eternity. They're lied to about their exaltation. And really, throughout all of that, their cognitive dissonance is making it difficult, even today on the show, to see the coercion that was involved in their relationships with Kody. They might not be willing to go there yet. They may never go there. It would unravel their entire life story. Healing is not a linear process. It's messy and complicated. And they're still trying to promote polygamy on the show, at least a little bit. And sadly, there's no real way to say this than other to say that they were coerced and manipulated and brainwashed into believing they had to do this for exaltation. They shouldn't regret that decision because it brought them children, and I'm sure it brought them a level of happiness. But now that they're out of that system, hopefully they can heal from it and not have to be stuck in that belief system anymore. And they can find happiness without believing that their eternity depends on a man that has more than one wife. So Janelle's confession gives me a little bit more insight into Mary's relationship with her, why things were so cloudy. It gives me more information about her understanding and just her belief. Christine says very little other than she doesn't regret it. And Christine's just a rose-colored glasses kind of gal, so she's never going to say anything negative of the sort when it comes to that. I would love to know what your thoughts are. Tell me in the comments below. Bye, guys.